Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is John Campea, and this is The Weekly Hero. Yes, eventually the name's going to be changed, but for now, it's The Weekly Hero with me and, of course, my co-host, Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett. Robert, how you doing, sir?
Greetings. It's a good week. A lot of cool news. A lot of cool info has dropped.
There is a lot of cool stuff going on here. You can't see him right now, but fact checker Jonathan's over there. He's going to keep us on. He's here. He just says in the background. He's going to keep us on point here and all this kind of stuff. Now, we got a bunch of things we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about, well, we would be remiss if we didn't talk a little bit about the Captain Marvel trailer. So that's got to happen. We're going to talk a little bit about this whole PG-13 thing with Venom. I got to know what Robert thinks about that. Could Aquaman actually outperform Justice League at the box office? Is that a possibility? But we got to start off with this. We talked about on the John Campea show a little bit earlier today, the fact that a report came out of Variety, and Variety in an exclusive report saying they have enough sources inside Marvel that have told them that Marvel is looking at developing some standalone, isolated series for their upcoming streaming Disney network that will include the likes of Loki, and a series for Scarlet Witch. The series would be between 5 and 8 episodes long. It would star the cast from the movie, so it would be Tom Hiddleston as Loki, it would be Scarlett Johansson, and they said other MCU characters who have not had their own standalone film yet. They also go on to say that the budgets are going to be very robust. They're almost, they said, going to be of the bigger productions, that kind of level of budget. So it looks like they are dead serious about this. Anyway, I talked about this a bunch this morning, Robert. Your thoughts when you heard about all this?
I was overjoyed. I mean, I've thought a lot with these big franchise properties that why do we have to wait 2 years between, Marvel is doing their little standalone things on the Blu-rays and the DVDs for a while, the Marvel one-shots. Where they had their lesser characters coming in and doing these storylines. And if you can get, look, Jim Carrey's got a new TV series. All kinds of movie actors have now moved into the television realm because that's where some great writing is happening. There's great talented directing staffs on these shows. I think it's the next logical progression. And first of all, if Disney streaming is going to come out swinging, if they're already going to make a number of Star Wars shows, you got Weiss and Benioff doing their Star Wars show after Game of Thrones. Why shouldn't they maximize the MCU in their streaming service because it's going to be their flagship destination anyway? And if they can come up with great stories, I mean, can you imagine a true detective type of a show with Scarlet Witch and the Vision? Or Loki is off on some amazing, mission, maybe in time and space. Who knows? But who wouldn't watch that? I mean, you get Hiddleston to play Loki? I mean, they're going to get 20 million, 30 million, 40 million people watching these things. I think it's a great move. It's a baller move. Good for Bob Iger and good for Kevin Feige because that's the way to go.
And what's clear here is that Disney, it's kind of like a shot being fired across everybody's bow. Not just Netflix. A lot of people saying this is all targeted. I think this is just shot across everybody's bow. That they are deadly serious about this streaming service. Bob Iger, I think he sees this, because we all know Bob Iger is going to be retiring sooner or later. And I think it's going to be sooner rather than later, probably within the next few years.
Right.
He said he's going to stay on board to oversee the amalgamation of the Fox assets into Disney, and that's going to take a couple of years. I think he sees this streaming service as really his big legacy piece. I think he sees this as their future. Not that it's going to replace the feature film division or anything like that, but this is going to be such a big piece of their puzzle. And I think them saying, not just that they're doing this content, but that they're going to put up this kind of money into something like this is impressive. And I think it's going to kind of be his calling card. What do you make, though, when you hear that they're saying, like, they're going to pay, like, when Variety says they're going to put up big dollars with this, which I suppose if you're getting Elizabeth Olsen and Tom Hiddleston involved, I guess you'd have to be, but does that surprise you that they'd be putting up big money for something like this?
No, because if you look at the marquee TV shows, Game of Thrones is costing upwards of $10 million an episode. Star Trek Discovery has exceeded $10 million an episode. I've heard, as high as even 15, depending on what's going on there. So if you look at that and you're going to do an 8-episode show, you're getting into a pretty substantial, I mean, remember The Matrix back in '99 had a budget of $65 million. Now what they're doing is, they're amortizing the cost over episodes, but they're going to be making. I guarantee you that Loki show is going to cost $100 million, but they're not even going to feel it, because who isn't going to get the Disney streaming service? Every parent for the rest of time is going to subscribe to that Disney streaming service and get everything Disney ever made. And there's a rich legacy of material. I mean, and they're just going to keep... I will get that. I will get that Disney streaming service immediately. If they make a Scarlet Witch and a Vision and Scarlet Witch show, count me in. A Loki show, sign me up. And if they just keep rolling into those, can you imagine if they just did big character series? Like, there could be a Hawkeye series, or Black Widow and Hawkeye. I mean, why wouldn't they? It's eight episodes. It stars them, and television has changed. Streaming has changed everything. It's all full of movie stars. I think it's going to be huge.
Let me ask you this specifically then. What do you think about the two names that have been brought up? What do you think about the decision to do first of all, this deal with Loki? And then what do you think about the decision, if the report is correct, the decision to do a Scarlet Witch one? What do you think about those two characters in particular being pointed out?
Well, I think, I would hope that it would be Vision and Scarlet Witch, or Scarlet Witch and the Vision, because the comics have such a rich legacy of those two characters together, and they can explore facets of that relationship that they probably couldn't in the main MCU movies. I think it's great. I mean, again, it's all about the script. It's all about the writing. It's all about, if Elizabeth Olsen is in, she's doing a show for what is it? She's doing a show now for some streaming service. I forget what it's called, but it's not Fremantle, but it's something like that. And I'm like, she's already in. She's an independent film star outside of the MCU, and she's got a lot of indie credibility. Tom Hiddleston also has done big movies. He's done small movies. I think it's just more opportunity for these guys to work, and they're going to get some meatier material, meatier roles, and who wouldn't want to do that?
All right, so let's do this then. The other thing that they said in the report was that, I mean, it's not just Loki and Scarlet Witch. They said other characters as well in the MCU who have not had their own standalone film. I want to throw a couple of names at you about who some of these potential other characters could be. I want you to give me a score, 1 being least likely,
okay,
10 being absolutely. Not on how much would you want to see it, but how much of a reality do you think it could be that this character could get a series, and then give me your commentary on whether you think it's a good or bad idea. All right, let's start off with the first name. Falcon.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, everyone loves Anthony Mackie. That's a great opportunity. He's also ex-military, so there's a lot of material to be mined there. I think probably 9 out of 10. 9. You're going to go as high as, right off the bat, first name, you're going 9. I'm going 9.
The other interesting thing about Mackie is that while he's flying, he's got to have the wings or some CGI, but for the most part, it's not a CGI-heavy character. And even if they want to spend a lot of money, you don't necessarily have to break the bank on a Falcon movie, right?
Nope.
So you're going 9 on that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's throw out another name here. We'll stick with some of the flying characters here. Rhodey, a.k.a. War Machine.
Again, I think that's probably a more expensive proposition, because obviously most of that Iron Man armor is CG, and if you're flying around a lot. But I could see them teaming up. I could see Rhodey and Falcon, because they both have military backgrounds. So maybe they're I don't know, conscripted into some special ops team, because in addition to being Avengers, they also are both American military. So I could see that happening. I don't think it's as likely as a Falcon show, but I definitely think it could happen. I mean, again, Don Cheadle is an actor that's worked in television before. Yep. So he's not somebody that's going to be like, I'm not going to do.
You ever see House of Lies?
Oh yeah,
he was great.
He was great in that. So why not? I mean, again, it all comes down to the scripts. It all comes down to the scripts and the production staff. And I think if they're going to spare no expense, and they have great writers, I think these actors will be chomping at the bit.
Likelihood, 1 to 10.
6.
Okay, so 6. So still on the positive side of that whole equation. Okay, technically, it wasn't her own standalone movie. Her name was in the title, but it wasn't her own standalone movie. Let's go Evangeline Lilly and Wasp.
She's such a great character. Again, another actress with a rich, obviously because of Lost, a television background. So the idea that she would be like, I think she would be amenable to it. And again, Wasp is a character that she's a feisty, career woman in addition to now being a superhero. And I could see that happening. I think that let's say 7 for a Wasp show. I still think they'll do a third Ant-Man and the Wasp movie before we see a Wasp TV show.
See, I don't think they will. I wish they would. I hope they do. I hope you're right.
I
hope you're right. I hope you're right.
How much cheddar.
All right, let's go on with this one. Probably one that a lot of people are thinking about. Talking about Clint, we're talking about Hawkeye. What do you think?
Hawkeye has, first of all, not a lot of CGI there. He doesn't have superpowers.
Yep.
And if you follow the recent Hawkeye miniseries, the things that have been written, great stuff. Great stuff about Hawkeye. Really rich material that isn't, again, it's not going to break the bank. But Jeremy Renner's not a man with a rich television background. I could see them wanting to do Hawkeye, like high up there. It makes sense. I'd say 8 or 9, but whether Jeremy Renner would do it brings down the possibility of maybe it's 6 or even 5. It really depends on what he wants to do.
Okay, and that's a big part of it, whether they could get the actor to do it.
And whether their management and their people will let him do it. But again, even if it was a 5, one of my favorite genre shows ever was the 3rd season of Torchwood, which is Torchwood Children of Earth.
Right.
I didn't love Torchwood the first 2 seasons. I was like, eh. But the 5 episodes of Torchwood were 5 of the finest televised hours of science fiction I've ever seen. And if you could do a 5-episode show like the British do, or like the new series Bodyguard that's going to be on Netflix, if you could do a 5 or 6 episode show that doesn't take the actors away from their movie careers for very long, you could bang out that in 2 months. It's not like it's going to take 6 months.
But for now, you're hovering around 5. The overall, you think the likelihood is 5. Okay,
Yeah.
Let's go a little bit of a different direction here. A relatively more newer comer to the MCU, Okoye.
Oh, the Dora Milaje. That would be the first show other than Scarlet Witch and Scarlet Witch and Loki. The Dora Milaje. That's a series, man. That's a show that could run
but we're
for
not
7
talking
years.
Dora Milaje. We're talking Okoye.
But if it's Okoye, she's got to have it.
I guess you
Okoye
could.
and the
I
Dora
guess you
Milaje.
could.
You know, you have to have. That's a team show. I mean, kick-ass Wakandan special forces. Come on, that's. I think that's way up there. You've got the element of diversity. You've got all kinds of, again, globe-trotting possibilities of they said Wakanda's borders are open. What if she's leading the Dora Milaje becomes a world peacekeeping force? You know, the way Tony Stark wanted to build armor around the world. Maybe that's what Wakanda's decided to do, and maybe it's the Dora Milaje that's going to do that. And why not? Okoye, come on. It's not like you're talking, again, someone else who has television experience. And why not?
Okay, let's go with one that a lot of people are going to be thinking about off the top of their heads. Bucky. Oh, by the way, did you give an Okoye a score?
Oh, no, I didn't. You know what? I would say 8.
8? So you think pretty high possibility.
I'm high up on that idea. 9 if it's with the Dora Milaje, too. I think Bucky not so much. Because I think they're saving him for the MCU. I think Bucky's going to play a much larger role in the MCU. He's going to be booted up in case some people sort of step down, perhaps.
Is that your way of saying you think he's going to be the next Captain America?
I mean, it makes sense.
I got big issues with that.
But it happened in the comics, and again, it's not unprecedented.
But a lot has happened in the comics.
No, it's true. A lot has happened in the comics. But I don't think that's his... The thing about him is he's been such a side character, in a way. And I still think of him as such a sidekick that I don't know. I mean, look, if the writing's good, but I think probably the least likely of everyone you've mentioned.
Okay.
Bucky.
Score?
4.
4, okay. So those are some off the top of my head, but what other characters in the MCU haven't had their own stand? I mean, look, Guardians of the Galaxy have their own standalone, but a lot of the individual characters, what about, if they wanted to do a prequel series, 5-part, 6-part, 7-part series on Rocket Raccoon? Like, could you see somebody from a team like Guardians getting a standalone series?
Absolutely, although that Rocket would be, again, an expensive
that is the big drawback to that one, because it's an all CGI lead character.
Yeah. But I could see that. I mean, it would be like you could do a young Star-Lord show. Like when Star-Lord first got taken away by the Ravagers. Why do that show? And how did he grow up in space? What was that like for him? That, to me, that seems like a but then it wouldn't be Chris Pratt. It would be a younger actor. But I would watch that show. The Hulk. Because he doesn't have to Hulk out the whole show.
Right. But that brings up an interesting question, because Hulk was... A friend of mine brought that up to me earlier today. Like, what about Hulk? It's an interesting scenario, because we know that right now, Marvel refuses to make standalone Hulk films.
Right.
Because Universal has the distribution rights. Marvel doesn't want somebody else distributing their films. I wonder if that would interfere at all with, you know, making something for the Disney streaming service, or if Universal could cause a fuss in court and say, hey, that's violating the spirit of the agreement. But
right.
I mean, I don't know. But that's the first thing that comes to my mind when somebody mentions Hulk. It's like, yeah, but could they? What do you think?
But as a show, you know, we know what an Incredible Hulk show can be, because I grew up watching it. And, you know, that show always had a sort of an edge of melancholy, and if maybe Banner decides to go on some kind of worldwide walkabout to find himself after the events of Avengers 4. And maybe so. Who knows? I don't know. But
all right. Well, listen, we could sit here all day and talk about all the various different MCU characters that could or could not get their own series, but we're just going to have to wait quite a while, because we don't even know an official release date of this service yet. Sometime 2019 or 20 or whenever.
But between Star Wars and the MCU...
They got a hell of a lot of stuff to cover. We've got a few other topics here to talk about, but before we do, you know it wouldn't be an episode of The Weekly Hero with Robert Meyer Burnett if we didn't talk a little bit about some hot toy action. So, Robert, what have you brought in today?
Well, today, seeing as we just celebrated the release of... some of us celebrated the release of Shane Black's The Predator, I brought a Hot Toys Celtic Predator from AVP, from Alien vs. Predator. People are all like, well, why did you do that? Well, I'll tell you why. Because when I first sort of discovered Hot Toys after I bought my Hot Toys made a bootleg George Lucas figure called The Director. That was the first Hot Toy I bought. But Hot Toys made their mark with Aliens and Predator figures. And they were called action figure kits back then. And they made a Celtic Predator where you had to put on his netting and put it all together, and it was a pain in the ass. But then they re-released that stuff, I don't know, I want to say like 5 years ago. And their Predator and Alien figures are absolutely incredible.
So I'm going to start pulling it up here so we can take a look at this Predator. We got the hot toy cam, if you will. So we're going to get that in here, and look at this, ladies and gentlemen.
The detail, the thing about the Celtic Predator, they come with so many accessories. The blades for the weapons are metal. As you can see, they've got every single conceivable accessory that you want. You can mix and match, and that even comes with something that looks like a Krull glaive. If you remember the movie Krull, the glaive was very, very cool. It's a Predator version of the glaive, and these Predator figures are just incredible. And they make a number of different ones. There's the Elder Predator. There's the actual Predator from the original film, and they also made a Arnold Schwarzenegger Dutch character, which I actually sold because it was just Arnold Schwarzenegger's an army guy. Like, I sometimes sell and trade my Hot Toys figures, but Predator Hot Toys figures you can never go wrong with if you love them. There's a lot of people that make monster, like Predator figures. I think McFarlane has, NECA, of course. But the Hot Toy Predators, they're the Lamborghinis of Predator figures.
I just want to point out, because you were showing me this earlier, these blades here, they ain't plastic. These are actually metal that you could, as you pointed out, actually hurt yourself
Yes,
with.
you could, and I have. Putting them together, I've actually penetrated
I just
skin.
noticed there's an alien head on the ground that he's standing on top of.
Yes, yes.
With a bunch of human skulls, too. It's not a throne, it's not a chair, but it's a pretty good stand for him. And the wrist blades here.
Oh, yeah. I mean, these Predator figures are just the best, and they just keep making them better. I'm sure that we're going to get more because of Shane Black's. I'm looking forward to They even made an Adrian Brody figure from Predators,
which is not a bad movie, by the way.
No, not at all.
I like that one more than this one, but yeah, I actually got a kick out of that one.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Robert, for bringing in yet another amazing hot toy.
Thought that was topical.
Yeah, that was a very good choice to bring that way. Like, you came in today because Robert never tells me which ones he's bringing. Then he shows up and he pulled it out and said, "I brought a Predator." I'm like, that's perfect, perfect timing. So we will, of course, look forward to seeing what you're bringing in next week. All right.
Well, I have actually a special surprise next week. that I'm bringing in that isn't a Hot Toy figure, but it's from a new company that I'll talk about next week.
Ooh, now I'm all curious. All right. So listen, yesterday, the comic book movie fandom world was all the buzz because, of course, the first Captain Marvel trailer dropped. Now, once they released those images from EW, we knew it was that's the modus operandi of Marvel. They release a poster or a couple of images. Within the next 2 weeks, we see a trailer. We get the trailer, no big surprise. I've talked about my thoughts on it. Robert, what did you and I have not talked about this once.
No.
What did you think of the Captain Marvel trailer?
Here's the thing. I thought, it's a teaser trailer, even though they're calling it official. Teaser trailers are always the first trailer they release. They're more of a tease than anything else. We're over 6 months out from Captain Marvel being released, so I'm sure not very many effects were done. I mean, they had a lot of planetary shots, and you saw a spaceship materializing over Earth. But for the most part, it was more of an introduction to her character, because most of the audience doesn't know who Captain Marvel is. Carol Danvers as a character has a rich history in the MCU, and she's actually been many different things. She wasn't always Captain Marvel. She became Captain Marvel. She's been a number of different incarnations. But I thought that the trailer did what it was supposed to do. Introduced us to the idea of her, that she doesn't really remember her time on Earth. We see Skrulls. We see Marvel. I mean, the Kree-Skrull War is an event in the Marvel universe, in the comic universe, that's had ramifications for 30 years. Most recently with, like, the Secret Invasion. There's the Super Skrull, of course. And so all of this is sort of an opening salvo in a new element where the Guardians have been wacky. This is going to be a much more serious, much more cosmic element or realm of the MCU. And I think this is they were just introducing us to all of these concepts and showing. You saw her use her powers a couple of times. You saw her relationship with Nick Fury, which looks to be a lot of fun. I mean, we knew Nick Fury was gonna hang up his spurs till he met an alien chick from outer space who's involved with the Kree. I mean, I think what it did for me was it introduced us to that world. It sort of was an intro. And what I find interesting online is that everyone's always talking about that they want trailers to change their lives. Like, it was so good. But if you don't know who the character is and you don't have a connection to them, I mean, the Infinity War trailer blew my mind because you know those characters. You have 10 years with them. You have no experience with Carol Danvers. You have no experience with Captain Marvel. So it was all kind of new. That's why I don't think, it didn't blow people out of the water, the people that were disappointed by it, which I think is weird. How can you get disappointed by a commercial for a movie? Like, wait to see the movie.
Yeah, the thing that got me the most was, like, and I agree with everything you're saying. Like, a lot of people, this is the thing. One of my big complaints, in recent years has been, like, as soon as I see a new comic book movie, like, let's say I get to see it early, the first thing everybody asks, is it as good as The Dark Knight? Is it better than Avengers? It's like, what? And so, like, and I remember seeing some people, first of all, a lot of people completely loved this trailer.
Yeah.
I'm not one of them. I liked it. I thought it was solid.
I did too.
For a first trailer of a movie with a character we've never seen that's still a half a year away. I thought it was quite solid for that. But, seeing a lot of people online going, well, I don't know, I like the Infinity War trailer better. Well, of course you like the Infinity War trailer. It's a trailer that built up for 10 years with characters you already have emotional investment in, with a continuation of a storyline and the culmination of a storyline they've been building up to for years. Right. Of course it's a better trailer than that. And by the way, that trailer wasn't Infinity War's first trailer either.
Right.
This is a character we've never seen on screen. But the thing that got me a lot was when people would say, I don't know, I'm not buying Brie Larson's performance. I go, okay, first of all, we are talking about multiple Academy nominated and Academy Award winning actress Brie Larson, right? And you're talking about 2 lines given out of context, so we don't know what the scenario is in which she's saying those lines. And I said this, and I guarantee you, when we see the movie and we see the scene in which those lines are being spoken, I guarantee you we're going to go, oh, yeah, well, yeah, that was the exact right way to deliver those lines. Maybe they weren't the best lines to use in the trailer, but never doubt the performance of Brie Larson at all. Don't ever make that mistake.
I totally agree with you. And if you really look at this trailer, it's what I call a people trailer. It's mostly shots of people. There's a few shots with effects in them, but it's mostly you're looking at people's faces, you're looking at figures. The scenes were not action-oriented because all of those visual effects are in the process of being done. So they're not going to show us a lot of the epic action. A lot of it takes place in space or on sets that need set extensions. A lot of this trailer took place in the real world. You know, you barely see a shot of the Skrulls coming out of the water. So this was a people trailer. It was a trailer that didn't have a lot of action, and it just kind of introduced you to the people that are going to be in it. But there's a lot more to come. Give it 3 or 4 months. Give it after the first of the year, and we'll see what kind of trailer you're going to get next.
Somebody brought up on one of my shows a great point that I had not considered. Now, of course, we get that one great shot in the trailer of the little old lady sitting on the bus, smiling at Carol Danvers, and Carol Danvers clocking her, right? And that's hilarious. Obviously, we know that's a Skrull, most likely. So we all know, ha, ha, ha. But one of the viewers on my show, brought up a point I had not considered. And it made me go, wow, there are a hell of a lot of people out there who have never heard of a Skrull.
Right.
And, like, we're watching this trailer, and we know, ha, 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 she's hitting a Skrull, ha, ha. My mom doesn't know that old lady's a Skrull. And, you know, I remember being completely taken aback by that when one of the viewers brought that up. I was like, oh, yeah, what was that like for an average movie-going fan member who doesn't read the comics, has no idea what the hell Skrulls are, and just sees the scene in a trailer of Captain Marvel getting ready to haul off and knock this old lady out? Like, what are they thinking at that point?
I mean, I think they put that there intentionally because lacking big action or effect sequences, having Carol Danvers as Captain Marvel smash an old lady in the face, what I thought was even more interesting about that is, remember, this is a period piece set in the 90s. So there's Skrulls on Earth. Before the MCU even begins, before Iron Man even begins, there's aliens among us, people, and they can be anyone. So if you've read The Secret Invasion, if anyone knows what happened then, that was a big story in Marvel Comics, and some people that you thought you knew, turned out you didn't know them at all, like Elektra.
But that does bring up an interesting question that we won't go into deeply here, but a lot of people have been asking, like, well, who do you think today are Skrulls? Which ones today's are Skrulls? It's like, oh, well, now, wait a second. This whole Skrull situation could be resolved in Captain America. Like, Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel may resolve that whole thing, and that it might be that nobody is a Skrull today, right?
Yep.
But here's what I told one of my viewers, and tell me if you agree, or tell me if I'm completely off base here. If they say the Skrull issue is still an issue today, I don't believe they will have any forefront A-list named Avengers characters as Skrulls. And if they were going to have any, it is most likely recognizable side characters. Like, I don't know, maybe Okoye, maybe a Coulson, maybe a something like that, but not. I don't believe Scarlet Witch is a Skrull, or anything like that. So, do you subscribe to that theory?
Yeah, I do too. I mean, I don't think. Look, because that would mean that the movies that we've watched and we've known and we've loved for so long would somehow be diminished. I think, and I don't think they're going to do that. I think that could be, especially now that we know Skrulls have been on Earth since at least the 90s. I don't think they're going to go back. I think that Nick Fury, like you said, is probably taking care of that situation. And as we see, the pager that he has for Carol Danvers has evolved according to the pager he has at the end of Infinity War. So I'm sure they had many adventures together that we just haven't seen yet, and perhaps the Skrulls aren't a problem. But I love the fact that everyone's going to know. What's his name? Who played Krennic in Ben Mendelsohn. Ben Mendelsohn, in an interview with Entertainment Weekly, he plays a Skrull, and he talked about he coined the term Skrullin', like I'd be Skrullin', and I just thought that was the funniest thing. I've been saying it. I read it in the interview. I saw it on Dark Horizons, and he talks about how his human character is different than when he be Skrullin'. And I think all of us should go scrolling at some point because it's something that we should all learn to do.
Can you look up? See if the IMDb lists what his character's name is in there, because that's going to be interesting. It is, when you really go down, there are a number of people that you really don't see in the trailer, right?
Right.
Like, other than a small in the frame from the back, Ronan. We don't really get to see. We don't really get to see Ronan.
No.
We can assume he's going to have a fairly significant role. I mean, they put his pictures out with the Entertainment Weekly stuff.
Right. And he would be a good guy, like kind of a good guy.
Depends. I wonder if.
Yeah,
like,
I don't know.
Somebody asked me today. They said, John, over or under 30% that we see Captain Marvel fight Ronan in this movie, and I'm like, 30%'s a low number. Like if they had said 75%, I'd say, oh, take the under on that, but. 30%'s a pretty low number, and I went out on a limb and I said I'll take the over on that. I think it's over 30% we see her fight Ronan.
I think we're going to see why Ronan ended up teaming up with Thanos in this movie. I think he's going to start out as a kind of like Sinestro and Green Lantern. You know, how if they ever made a Green Lantern 2, he was going to be the villain. But you saw him as a good guy that got pushed over to the dark side. I think we're going to see that's going to be Ronan's arc.
But he wasn't pushed over to the dark side. He's just, I'm a good guy, I'm a good guy. A yellow ring, I'm evil.
Well,
like
yes.
that. There was nothing pushing Sinestro over. It was just kind of like,
you're correct,
just like
sir.
that. What you were able to find? Talos is his name. Okay, I'm not familiar with the name. Is that a name that rings a bell?
Ronan's name?
No, Ben Mendelsohn's name.
Talos. Talos. Yeah, he's like a human. I don't know who.
But it's not a name you recognize.
No, it is, okay. But I don't remember.
I think clearly
Talos
a scroll
4,
name.
You know,
I mean,
you can't
well,
go there
yes.
without being killed, but that's different.
Maybe
maybe he was named after that planet. Maybe Talos 4 is named after. I don't know.
All right.
What?
We've got another topic. We're not going to have time to get to all topics because I want to go over to the live questions, but just one more topic here. Just after we did the Weekly Hero last week, the official word came out. Venom, which, by the way, is tracking to break the all-time October opening weekend box office record, currently held by Gravity at 55 million. They're saying it could open as high as 70 million.
Wow.
We'll talk about that in a minute, but it's now official. It is going to be PG-13. Now, we heard in an interview, I believe it was the Hollywood Reporter, did a story on this a couple of weeks ago saying they were talking to the Sony executives. They said they were probably leaning towards PG-13 because they want to make sure they're capable of bringing a Spider-Man, which opens up a whole new can of worms for discussion.
Right.
And my response to the PG-13 rating was simply this. My response was, if I'm in charge, I probably do an R-rated Venom movie. But at the same time, when you really look at what makes a lot of R-rated movies rated R, it's normally two things. It's normally coarse language, and it's normally boobs. I mean, it's sexual content. Those are usually, you get away with a hell of a lot of violence in movies with PG-13, right? And like, to me, I don't think any of us were expecting a lot of F-bombs in Venom, and I don't think a lot of us were expecting Michelle Williams to get naked in the movie. That we don't expect a lot of sexual situations or a lot of sexual innuendo in the film.
Yeah, if there was a lot of sex in Venom, I think it would be NC-17.
Yeah, and it
There's a lot of weirdness that could happen there.
There's a lot of weirdness you could do there. But, I mean, to me, it's like, would I do it R? Yeah. But when I really think about it, does a Venom movie need to be R? Nah, I'm good with it. So, I'm good with it. I don't know. What's your response to hearing that it was going to be PG-13?
I thought it was a little weird because they touted the fact that it was going to be R-rated the entire time they were making it. This is going to be a dark, horrific film. But then Venom, look, I'm waiting to see the movie. I can't wait to see it. It looks fun, but it looks goofy. I mean, if that makes sense, it does not look... I'm not scared of Venom. I'm kind of smiling when I see him. I'm kind of like, ha, ha, ha. It's not... I'm not going to be scared of Venom. I don't think, I hope they don't try and turn him into a wiseacre, kind of like Deadpool is. Yeah, I think PG-13 is fine.
That would be a mistake.
Yeah, I mean...
trying to make him a funny guy, like, that would be a mistake.
But it is kind of, like, he's kind of funny and whimsical. Like, I'm going to eat his brains or his head off or his arms. I mean, it doesn't strike me as the most serious of characters. My favorite word, verisimilitude. I don't see a lot of verisimilitude in the Venom trailer, but we'll see. It looks a little... There's definitely an element... a humorous, a goofy quality to the whole thing.
Yeah, I think there's a lighter edge to it.
Yeah.
I think that's definitely there. I'm good with it.
Venom looks like the Beetlejuice comic book supervillains.
No, I think he looks great.
Well, no, I mean,
personally think he looks
what
great.
I mean is he looks like Venom. Venom is just a goofy. Like if he turned around and said, "I've seen The Exorcist 167 times, and it keeps getting funnier every single time," like Beetlejuice does, I'd be like, all right, that's kind of something you'd say.
I do not think they're going to have this Venom do that.
No, he won't. But it is a little goofy.
All
I
right.
need to be convinced.
Let's go over now to your live questions. You guys have been firing them in. There's already a bunch of questions in there, guys. So listen, do me a favor. If you have not fired in a live question yet, no more live questions. Please don't send in any more. I want to see if we can get through all the ones that are here. There's already a bunch in there. So by the way, thank you everybody for participating. All right, let's get to it. And we're going to start off with the first question today from the Porn Nerds, who writes, speaking of Venom and adult stuff, Porn Nerds writes, Robert, in Avengers 4, who do you think will bite the bullet?
Oh man, this perennial question. I think Tony Stark's gonna die, and I think Captain America might die.
Yeah, I don't think anybody key's gonna die. I think it might be the last time we see Robert Downey Jr. at least for a while, and it might be the last time we see Cap for a while. But right. I don't think either of them are gonna die.
That doesn't mean they're going to stay dead.
Well, that's true, because this is the MCU.
Yeah.
Nobody really ever stays dead.
And in this movie, there could be sacrifice, and I think time travel is going to be involved. I just want to know if Kang is in this movie.
I doubt it. I think somebody else brought that up. I just think they've already got so much going on to deal with.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's possible. All right. I can't think of a good username rights. Will Thor cameo in the Loki series? I'm going to doubt it. But I wouldn't put money on it. I wouldn't put money on my doubt. I think it's possible. I'd set the over-under at like 30%. 30% chance Loki or Thor would show up in a Loki series. What do you think?
Again, this is so interconnected now that I think that these characters and these actors seem to have such great affection for one another. Like, it really depends on money and the script. I mean, you know.
Let's get back over to it here. Fun fact from Zombitron5678. Rocket is the only hero in Infinity War to not face Thanos in any way. He doesn't even meet or see him. Just an interesting fact I noticed. I don't think Okoye does either. I can't think of a time when Okoye actually is standing there and sees Thanos.
Right.
That I can think of. I'd have to watch the movie again. Now we have an excuse to watch the movie again.
Right, which is always a good excuse.
Yes.
I just got another pair of 3D glasses so I can... I broke a pair. I spilled on them and they...
Do you have 3D television at home?
Oh, yes.
You are now the only person I know that has a 3D television.
Oh, not only do I have 3D television, I got Infinity War in 3D this week.
There you go.
You can't, Americans barely, you can't get 3D Blu-rays anymore. So in America,
because nobody bought 3D TVs.
Yeah. So
except you apparently.
Home 3D is so awesome. But I pre-ordered. I have Black Panther in 3D. I have every single MCU movie that came out in 3D in 3D. I have Force Awakens in 3D. I have Last Jedi in 3D. I even have Bernardo Bertolucci's The Last Emperor in 3D that was only released in Italy.
All right. Nathan Oswald writes, is there any hot toy you want but don't have?
Oh my God, there's so many hot toys. I'm behind like a year. I'm behind like a year. Gosh, there's a lot of Star Wars. Like, I haven't really bought any of the Force Awakens and Last Jedi hot toys yet. I want the Lukes. You know, I do. There's so many good ones. I want the whole gaggle of Stormtroopers. I haven't got them because I just don't get excited about those figures. They're great figures, though. I did not buy the DeLorean, the Back to the Future DeLorean. I was a little light as far as
that's an expensive one too, though, right?
It was like $800. It is so cool. So, you know, maybe
I believe our friend Cliff has it. I think I saw it in his collection. Yeah,
Clifford there has been buying a lot of these figures lately, and I've been a little light. Independent filmmakers need more patrons.
Good little piece of trivia. Our buddy Cliff also has a great hot toy collection.
Yes,
he forgot he had a Boba Fett and had a second one. And the Boba Fett hot toy I have back here was a gift from him, and our friend Cliff actually gave me that, which is a terrific present. I just pointed that out because you haven't given me any hot toys yet.
Oh yes,
just thought to point that out.
That's coming. That's coming. I will have to find out what characters you want. But there's always more.
Let's move on here. DC Patience writes, Disney streaming service, will it impact the box office for movies like Captain Marvel if fans wait for streaming instead of seeing it multiple times? I don't think so, because like right now, look, there's a rule. There's an agreement between studios and movie theaters. that, hey, if we show your movies in our theaters, you have to wait at least X number of days before releasing it on any type of home streaming. Look, and right now, I think it's like 90 days or something like that.
Yeah.
I can't remember the exact number. But right now, they have to wait for those before they can release them to anybody. And that's not going to change with the Disney streaming service. So if they just got to wait for, let's say, argument's sake, it's 90 days. If you got to wait for 90 days anyway, people are just waiting 90 days right now. So really, I don't think it's going to have much of, if any, impact at all. What do you think?
Look, I agree. I mean, people want to go see Infinity War in IMAX. They want to see it. They want to have that collective experience. That's why people go to the movies. People are always going to go to the movies. They're always going to do these things where they can go out, they need something to do. Nobody just wants to spend the rest of their lives cooped up watching streaming. I certainly don't want to watch Infinity War for the first time on my TV, as great as my TV might be, and TVs and projectors are getting bigger. I want to see it with a bunch of like-minded fans like myself. You know, when Friday the 13th movies used to come out, I would want to go see them with the rowdiest. I wanted to go see them with my people. People that understood why we were there, and you yell and you scream and you have a good time, and that makes part of the experience. So people are always going to go to movies.
Patrick Conway writes, Hawkeye, Okoye, and Rocket and Groot would be cool. Well, like Robert pointed out, the problem with a Rocket and Groot, that's a very expensive show.
Yes.
That's a very, very expensive show to do. Okoye, definitely, we talked about Okoye and Hawkeye, and we both think those are possibilities. Jedi Lori writes, do you think there's a cultural difference between how Japanese film executives approach comic book films and American execs approach them? Sujihara's challenge? No, Sujihara's an American. Right. But I mean, so no, I don't think we can chalk that up to heritage. I don't think it comes from that. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, the Japanese have a very different relationship with their manga. You can read Japanese comic books about people who golf. You know, there's Japanese comics cover the wide gamut, just like their animation. Like The Girl Who Walked Through Walls. I mean, Japanese animation is not limited by executive thinking. I mean, they're used to animation is such a rich part of their culture, both the manga and the manga adaptations. I mean, look at how many different animated TV shows come out of Japan. So it's a very different issue. I think it's yeah.
All right. Sam Fisher writes, watch The Toys That Made Us. Thanks to this show. Oh, I'm glad you heard about it from us. So glad I did. So interesting. Favorite episode was Transformers, He-Man, and Lego. What were yours?
You know, this is going to seem weird. I like the Barbie episode because what I loved about The Toys That Made Us was how it profiled the American companies that were making these toys, and it showed how the perceptions of women and how did a company had to come up with Barbie and how did it have to change with the times and deal with different political aspects of a toy. I mean, I never collected Barbies or anything like that, but I found the parallel tracks of the toys and the companies that made them fascinating because it had as much historical perspective as it did about the toys themselves, which is great.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me personally, the Lego one is the one I was fascinated
Really
by.
good.
Really fascinating.
I love G.I. Joe, too.
Kyle Beckworth writes, so excited for the MCU series on Disney streaming. Love the idea of longer form storytelling, and it's a great business move. Thanks and love the show. Well, whether it's a good business move or not, we'll have to wait and see.
Right.
I mean, let's not pretend Disney's never made some missteps when it came to, things like programs they decided to launch, initiatives they decided to launch. This might bite them in the ass, or it may be, like we were talking about earlier, Bob Iger's legacy. I mean, like his big shining legacy. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, yeah. Look, you know what I'm dreaming of? This is going to seem a little weird. I want them to do the Barsoom, Edgar Rice Burroughs, Mars books. They did John Carter, which I loved. They had to throw it away to get
great.
Star Wars.
I really liked it.
And you would never know that was based on one of the most beloved sci-fi franchises of the 20th century. That's what I want to see Bob Iger do. He owes it to Andrew Stanton and everybody at Pixar to give him. Let's do a Barsoom series. Barsoom's the name of Mars in the Edgar Rice Burroughs books.
Santos Andujar writes, I feel like those geniuses at Warner Brothers are setting Aquaman up for failure. Nothing good can come from releasing this movie on the 21st. It's box office suicide. Look, I have been leading the charge saying they needed and they should move the date. But I wouldn't go so far as to say it's box office suicide. Look, there's a reason that a lot of films are trying to open around that date because a lot of people are going to the movies on that date. In that week, where we've got, within a 7-day window, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, Peter Jackson's Mortal Engines, Mary Poppins, which is going to do a lot of damage, Bumblebee, Alita Battle Angel, Aquaman, Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly's Holmes and Watson, Steve Carell's Welcome to Marwen. These are all opening there. Now, the reason they're doing that, again, is there's a lot of people who are going to the movies in that week. Studies have proved that over and over again, year after year after year. It's still really overcrowded. Oh. And I absolutely know. Everybody would say, John, why are you always talking about Aquaman? Why not the other movies move? Because I thought Aquaman would benefit the most from the move. And I just thought it put them in the best position for success. And now that Mary Poppins, I mean, at least before, Mary Poppins was supposed to open after the 21st, like 4 or 5 days after the 21st. Then so all these movies at least thought, well, at least we can have our opening weekend. Well, guess what? Now Mary Poppins moved to the 19th and is opening 2 days before all those other movies, which is just got to have them crapping their pants, because then Mary Poppins puts out that trailer the other day that was freaking beautiful and wonderful. Cried. Oh, wasn't it great? I totally
got misty-eyed and teared up. I am an unabashed lover of Mary Poppins. Mary Poppins and 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea were my 2 favorite live-action Disney movies growing up, and I got choked up watching that trailer.
And when they did the 2D animation classic, I was fully expecting CG animation hybrid, and I'm perfectly good with that. When I saw they were doing the classic 2D animation, I was like, oh my God, they did it, and it looks glorious. But anyways, look, I think Aquaman will not make the money it could have made if it had moved to a different date. But I don't think it's box office suicide. Again, there are still a lot of people going to the movies in that week. I think Aquaman's going to make money. It's going to make some money. I just think it would have made more money and had more success had they moved. That's just the way I feel.
By the way, it's not to say they can't. It's only mid-September right now. That means you have October, November. They could bring something up a week or two. That's not unprecedented.
It's true. I just feel like I thought they would. I'll straight up, I thought they were going to announce at Comic-Con that they were moving release dates. They really did.
New York Comic-Con.
I just feel like it might be getting too late, but I hope you're right. For their sake, I hope you're right. All right. Rude Shot writes, will we ever see an LA-based White Tiger TV series? I'm not familiar with it.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm not sure what they mean. Is that the comic White Tiger?
I'm not sure. Okay, we'll move on here. Mason Barr writes, just wanted to say hey, and I love this dynamic duo. Thank you so much, Mason Barr. I appreciate that. History Soup writes, could one new Disney Marvel show be a comedy? I don't see why not. I mean, with the MCU movies, they seem to jump genres all the time.
Look, I think they could do a Murphy Brown, Sex and the City-esque She-Hulk. We talked about that. You know, we talked about doing She-Hulk or something along those lines. I mean, you've got the New Warriors. They were going to do that series. Who knows? Maybe that'll be part of the streaming series. They could do all kinds of things.
All right, next one comes to us from Keon Asadi, who writes, can Burnett join the Avengers theories discussion? Yeah, well, what I said was, after Captain Marvel comes out, I need to do another Avengers 4 theories discussion because it could update our theories once we see Captain Marvel, and I'm definitely going to have you sit in on that. That would be a good one.
I'd love to do that.
All right, guys, listen, we're running out of time, so I'm going to fly like hell through these last few ones here because I want to make sure we get to all your questions. Let's see, Ben Rayner writes, M'Baku and Daryl the series, make it happen. I assume you're talking about Daryl from the Thor series. That's brilliant, by the way.
I would love to see that. I mean, what does a normal schlubby dude and his friends who are friends with superheroes do? I would love that.
I love also the idea of, let's start with Daryl, say, I need a new roommate. And then he had remember they did one with Grandmaster and Daryl?
Yeah.
So it didn't work out with Grandmaster. He tried to murder me. And so somebody was visiting the U.S. and it's just a temporary 2-month stay. This is M'Baku. I would give my kidney to see Daryl and M'Baku. Damn right, Ben. Rude Shot writes, Avengers 4 still think Ant-Man will trap Thanos in Quantum Realm to save killing him off.
That's not a bad idea. I like that.
I think they kill him off. Because it's not like, it's not like it's a one-shot villain that only appeared in one movie and then they killed him in one movie. The presence of Thanos has been around for years now, and then 2 major films. I feel like they can polish him off.
Can they kill him? Can Thanos be killed?
Well, he's permanently damaged now. Like, he's severely depowered.
I mean, Thanos is just kicking it on his home planet. I think someone's going to go start some shit with him.
All right.
I think the Avengers are going to have to do that.
Caleb Bradford writes, I think a Winter Soldier series would be cool. It could be about the years when he was an assassin for Hydra. Yeah, I mean, again, I'm not big on telling backwards stories personally, but hey, look, if they announce it, I'd be intrigued.
Yeah, especially with it'd be a period story. Like you could jump ahead, kind of like how the Crown jumps ahead in time. You could do a Winter Soldier series jumping ahead in the 50s, 60s, 70s. Kind of cool. Ben
Sultan writes, I don't know if Robert even cares or not, but what is reaction of The Last Airbender coming to Netflix?
I think that's cool. You know, the animated series is terrific, obviously, and again, I think it could be great as long as it's well written and beautifully made. But you know, every time a show like that comes to live action, the bar keeps getting up there and higher and higher and higher. So it's going to be tough. They have the work cut out for them.
Cornflakes writes, first time watching / asking, I can't get on board with Venom because he's not connected to Spider-Man, and nothing has interested me. Are there upsides you see on it? I mean, one of the things to me is that the vast majority of the movie-going audience doesn't know who Venom is, nor do they know even has a connection to Spider-Man. Now, there's a lot of us who do, but a lot of the vast majority of the audience doesn't. So I'm perfectly good with that. I think that he's a good, rich character, whether or not Spider-Man is standing beside him. And I think that's proven by the fact that they put him in Guardians of the Galaxy, not in the movies, but in the comics. Like, Venom actually becomes a member of the Guardians of the Galaxy at one point. Guess what? Spider-Man's not there. So
well, he is an extraterrestrial symbiote, so...
I mean, so I guess I didn't even think of that. Yeah, that's a perfect example. So, I see lots of upside to this. Look, Tom Hardy is notoriously picky about the movies he chooses to get involved with. This was obviously not as picky as Joaquin Phoenix, but he's notoriously picky. That doesn't guarantee the movie's going to be good. Not at all. But clearly, he thought the script was good. He got on board with it. I like the trailer so far. Look, I'm going to see a Venom movie, not a Spider-Man movie. So, anyway, that's just kind of the way I feel about it. Murray Reich writes, eyes, lungs, pancreas, so many snacks, so little time. I actually really like that line myself personally.
I did too.
All right. Eldermount writes, assuming that DC does further Elseworlds type of stories, what would you want to see adapted other than The Dark Knight Returns, since that's too obvious? I would like to see Red Sun or Speeding Bullets. Red Sun is certainly one that came to my mind.
I love it. I mean, I love that so much. But yeah, I mean, in terms of live action, I would assume.
Right,
you know, because Red Sun is so great. You know, even though they did the animated film, I would have loved to have seen Gotham by Gaslight done, you know, Victorian era, sumptuous, kind of like Harry Potter meets the Sherlock Holmes movies.
What was the one that imagined that Kal-El got found by Thomas and Martha Wayne, and Bruce Wayne ended up being raised by the Kents? Do you remember that one?
No, yeah, vaguely.
I mean, it was like 15 years ago. I cannot remember the name of that one, but that's another one that would be interesting to see. Let's see. Gabe Schembanger writes, Alfred crying at the end of The Dark Knight Rises gets me every time.
Me too. Like look, The Dark Knight Rises, I have a love-hate relationship with. There's so much goofiness in it. Plot, let's not call them holes, but things I don't believe in. There's not verisimilitude like there is in The Dark Knight, but I still get choked up at the end. I do.
Sebastian writes, Robert, what's the best way to support you financially?
Well, should I talk to my mom and ask her that? No. Well, what's interesting is, you know, I've been doing my show, Robservations, which has been delayed because I have this big screening for a movie I produced and I'm editing on Monday night. So next week it's debuting. But if you want to support me financially, I have been doing PayPal. You can do PayPal me, RM Burnett. But if you do that, it's supporting Robservations, I'm putting everybody who does that, and people have been very generous, and I have prizes. So for the first episode, I'm giving away the original long shot, not giving away, you get into a random drawing for the long shot miniseries, the Arthur Adams from 1985 mint condition, or the book, The Cyberpunk Nexus, that I contributed to, which is about the Blade Runner universe. So PayPal me, but I will have Patreon. I want to make the show first, some people have it, and you can see it. But thank you.
Andrew Lee writes, the hesitancy to make Superman movies is confounding. Who doesn't understand Superman is the iconic superhero in the golden age of superhero movies? And, you know, one of the things
right there with him.
Yeah, somebody asked me this morning, they said, John, why is it that Superman seems to be being pushed aside both in movies and in the TVs in favor of Supergirl? And honestly, no disrespect to Supergirl whatsoever, but Superman is Superman. And what I said was, look, as much as I love Warner Brothers, and I've liked all the movies and all that kind of stuff, the one thing is inescapable. Warner Brothers as a company has a profound disrespect for the character of Superman. Batman vs. Superman was originally announced as Man of Steel 2. It was supposed to be Man of Steel 2. It eventually became a Batman movie with big guest star Superman. I mean, that's ultimately... And I like Batman vs. Superman, I do. But that was obvious disrespect. What they did with Superman in that Supergirl CW TV show is something I will never forgive. I will never forgive bringing on Superman...
What was the word you used?
Jobber.
A jobber.
They brought him on to be a jobber, which is a wrestling term, right? And I said, if you had done the same thing with Batman on a Green Arrow show... and you brought Batman onto Green Arrow just so Green Arrow could beat up Batman and Batman could go, oh, you're the true protector of the night, Green Arrow. We would never forgive them. And I don't forgive them for making Superman a jobber. This is clearly a company that has massive disrespect for the character of Superman. And so while I don't know what they're thinking, I'm not surprised.
I'm not surprised. I think everybody thinks because Superman is kind of a milquetoast, he's like the Dudley Do-Right, truth, justice, the American way, that he's just not cool. And they can't figure out how to make Superman cool. But I thought Man of Steel was kick-ass and cool. Yeah, I love Man of Steel. And I'm like, why is that so hard? Superman should be the crown jewel of the DC EU, whatever it's called, the DC universe. There should be a Superman movie every 2 years.
Yep. Totally agree. Sebastian follows up. I appreciate the content, Robert, and I just want to support it. And Sebastian, thank you so much for supporting this channel and wanting to support Robert. So thank you so much.
I think you're going to dig it, Sebastian. I think I've spent a long time on the first episode of Robservations, and I think it's going to be a fun show. And episode 2 is all about independent filmmaking, and I have a lot of very interesting guests.
I am very excited about this show. I cannot wait to watch it.
You're going to like it. Good.
John Watkins writes, thoughts on Russo brothers' picture tweeted earlier, look hard, Avengers Eternity. If you're talking about the picture that they put out, there's a picture with 2 stepladders on either side of what looks like Joe Russo sitting down writing something that appear to look like forming AA, which you have a lot of people saying, does that stand for Avengers Assemble? Does it stand for something else? Did you see the picture we're talking about? You should take a look at it when you get a chance, because I'd love to know your theories on it. But yeah, it was very, very cryptic. A lot of people have different theories, which I think was the point of it in the first place. Exciter Matt Troink writes, do you think Alan Cummings didn't do the Last Stand because he found out about Singer's bad habits? I don't think they ever invited him to be... first of all, Alan Cummings, who was terrific as Nightcrawler in X-Men 2, that opening to X-Men 2, where Nightcrawler assaults the White House, one of the best openings ever in comic book movies. And X-Men 2 is one of the greatest comic book movies ever. But I believe, from what I understood, he was just... They never wrote him in for future films. It's not like they had a big role for Nightcrawler, and then and they offered it to him, and he turned it. I don't think they ever offered him the role. I'm pretty sure.
You know, I've been friends with Brian, as people know, for 30 years. I've known him since we were at school together at USC. And then here's the thing about Bryan Singer that I will tell everybody right now: he doesn't hide anything that he's done. He's not doing anything behind closed doors, and I've defended him against all kinds of allegations because they've come up. But Brian lives his life very openly, and he does not have to hide, and he never has hidden. And that's all I'm going to say about that.
All right. KC Bloom 319 writes, Johnny Blaze Ghost Rider on Disney streaming service? I don't know. Look, if what they say is true and what they do on television is canon, and we've already now got a Ghost Rider because of the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., it looks like they've got their Ghost Rider, so I doubt it. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, again, you know, we've seen... What I love is that we have these multiple iterations of characters. We've Into the Spider-Verse. We've got that coming out. The DC universe, we have the Flash on television. We have the Flash in the movies, and they coexist. And I think what's really great now is that the possibilities to have different incarnations of a character. There's the Old West Ghost Rider. You can put that character in something too. And I think we could see all of these characters. Why not? Who knows? I wouldn't... What if they did a Nicolas Cage Ghost Rider series on the Disney streaming network?
Well, I know a couple of guys that would do it.
I would watch it.
Sebastian writes, Disney streaming is about planting a seed. I'm an outsider. Disney needs theatrical releases. They will not alienate current streaming platforms ever, though. Oh, I think they'll alienate current streaming.
Yes, they will.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
They're pulling their movies off Netflix.
Yeah, they're already in the process of alienating certain streaming services. So, oh, yeah, they're make no mistake about it, Sebastian, they will. But I completely agree with you that they need their theatrical releases. That's where their entertainment division gets their money from. It comes from the theatrical releases. They know that. So, yeah, they're always going to make sure they have that.
Can you imagine they did 4 between Infinity War and Black Panther? It's $4 billion. Mary Poppins is going to plunk another $1 billion in their coffers.
3 films alone. Ant-Man, Black Panther, and Avengers Infinity War have made $4 billion. That's just nuts. That's insane.
And then Incredibles 2 was the most successful Pixar movie.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. They're just
crazy.
Crazy.
Crazy year. Zeke Said So writes, I have a theory. The end credits of Captain Marvel, she finds Nick Fury's beeper and starts to find out what happened. You know what? I've got a theory that it happens much earlier in the Captain Marvel film than you think. We have all got this image in our head that the beeper, the pager, comes into play at the very end of Captain Marvel. I've got a theory that there's a 2% chance that that whole thing, out of time, out of linear time and space, happens much earlier in the film, and it becomes a part of the fabric of the Captain Marvel movie. I'm not saying that's likely. I'm just saying it's possible.
I like that idea. I think that would be really cool. I mean, look, I think we're in for a real treat with Captain Marvel. I think when you see that next trailer, people are going to be like, oh my God.
All right, the Mad Titan writes, I have a theory that Vision will come back in Avengers 4 as an empty shell, and Scarlet Witch's show will be about restoring him while exploring her powers. It's difficult because, unlike a lot of the other characters in the MCU, Vision was not killed by the snap. He was killed by more practical means, had his neck snapped. I mean, once he was blown up, and then he had his neck snapped. So it all depends on how, if they bring back everybody from the snap, then no Vision. If they bring everybody back by some kind of mechanism of time travel, then maybe Vision. But do you think that Vision would be a part of the series?
I like that idea. But again, are you going to pay Paul Bettany? And suddenly that's a lot of production. Paul Bettany flies. You know, he's got that very elaborate makeup that they enhance with CG. He's got a cape.
Although, in Infinity War, they introduced him with just a plain human appearance, right?
They did. Yes, they did.
So then it becomes like a Hulk situation where sometimes he's pure human, and then every once in a while he looks purple.
I mean, I would love that. I would love to see a Vision and Scarlet Witch show. I think that would be the greatest thing ever. I have a massive crush on Elizabeth Olsen. I do have a hot toy of her, by the way, just in case anyone wants to know.
I know you have the Scarlet Witch one.
Scarlet Witch figure, but yeah, I love her. I think she's great. A great actress. I mean, I loved her in Wind River and Marlene, whatever that movie was.
Okay, guys, we're just about out of time here, so I technically we're over time already, so I'm just going to fly through these last few ones. Sebastian writes, which one of you is a Skrull? I think you meant Skrull. Punch him now. So yeah, keep your eyes open for those Skrulls.
We can't give away. Which one do you think is a Skrull?
I personally think I'm a Skrull. I can't prove it, but I think
I want to see David Crabtree draw each one of us as a Skrull.
Oh, that'd be interesting. What is that going to look like? MW77 writes, opinions on Tom Cruise possibly as Hal Jordan. I'm not even sure I buy the story at all, but if it were true, hey, it's Tom Cruise. He's showing he still has it when it comes to doing action films. I would dig it. It's not my first choice, but I would totally be down for it.
Me too. I mean, Hal Jordan's a test pilot. Tom Cruise is Maverick.
There you go.
Why can't he be a Hal Jordan?
A fan of Peanuts writes, part 1, someone made an absurd comment that if Captain Marvel comes out and is a dumpster fire, that it would likely fail or likely fall on Brie Larson. Ha, no. Oh yeah, no, that's ridiculous. Like if the movie comes out and it's bad, look, all the actor or actress can do is portray the character with the lines that they're given as best as they can. If it's not a good movie, you cannot blame the actor for the lines that are spoken or the actions that happen or whatever. All they can do is try to manifest the character. I guarantee you, if for whatever reason the movie's bad, it's not going to fall on Brie Larson.
By the way, even Incredible Hulk, Thor the Dark World, and Iron Man 2 are watchable and entertaining movies. They're not dumpster fires. I don't think this far into the MCU we're going to get a Marvel movie that's a dumpster fire. They would fix it.
Yeah. Sebastian writes, Robert Meyer Burnett and John, my brother is a huge Blade movie fan and his birthday is coming up. My budget is $50 to $100. What would you buy? I need it by October 1st. Well, you can't get a hot toy.
No, the Blade hot toy is really expensive.
And it's quite good, but I mean, I wouldn't know what's an alternative, like Kotobukiya maybe.
Marvel did a really cool 12-inch 6-scale figure, like Marvel Legends figure, full cloth outfit. It comes with all the weapons. It's a really cool figure of Wesley Snipes. You could probably find it online. It's really good. I have one. It's a cool figure.
Let's see. A fan of Peanuts writes, Part 2, either Kevin Feige miscasts or writers write incompetent or incompetent scripts, or unproven director lays an egg, doesn't utilize Brie Larson. Yeah, well, again, Brie Larson is a multiple Academy Award nominee, an Academy Award winning actress. Yeah, you're not going to put this on her because she's simply one of the best talents in the business today.
Yeah, plus, they're not going to let a movie get that far along and have it be bad.
But you could say that about any movie, and lots of movies come out that are bad.
But yeah, but the MCU, I mean, they've got such a great production methodology and a pipeline there. You know, as I always say, trust in Kevin Feige, because he's the Lord and Savior of the cinematic superhero universe. All
right, Sebastian writes, DC subscription, $7.99. Really? I didn't hear that. $7.99 really appeals to hard fans. That's not a bad price. I mean, they're not launching with a lot of stuff.
And they've got a ton. If you're a big fan of that stuff, apparently they've got a, I've not subscribed, I'm going to, when Titans shows up. But they have all kinds of the old shows, the old animation. You get comic book subscriptions. What's not to love?
Glitter Geek TV has a great idea. Younger LA Playboy Tony Stark in a cameo in Captain Marvel.
I love that idea.
I like the idea. I think it's good. What was the year in Iron Man 3 when the movie starts in the past?
Right.
What year was that supposed to be? Was that supposed to be 2000?
When you meet what's his face? You meet
Guy Pearce.
Guy Pearce. Yeah, it's early.
Was that 2000? Was that like the new year?
I thought it was like 99 going to 2000.
Yeah, I did too. I thought so too.
It was definitely 90s.
Yeah, so you just have to go a little bit earlier than that?
Yeah, I mean, why not? They could de-age Robert Downey Jr. I mean, I love the idea of seeing a young Playboy party animal Tony Stark.
For just a scene, for just a quick scene.
It's a great idea. Great idea.
All right, final question of the day, and this one comes to us from Nathan Oswald, who writes, maybe Sony made Venom PG-13 because they need to make the most money possible since they don't have faith in... Oh, that's a ridiculous statement, Nathan. If they didn't have faith in it, making it PG doesn't mean... Look, every movie makes their movie in the way they think will make them the most money. Logan made it rated R because that's what they thought would make them the most money. I mean, that's what every studio does. I think there's a very good possibility here. They just made their movie, gave it to the MPAA, and the MPAA said, PG-13. I mean, I think that's a good, strong possibility as well. But this notion that they made it... Look... Venom was... There's no need for a Venom movie to be rated R. I would have done it, but there's no need for it. This notion that they made a PG-13 just to make money, they want to make money because they have no faith in the film? That makes no sense.
Well, also, you know, Venom, if there's a lot of violence, it's comic book violence. I mean, Venom is this crazy character, and it's not like you're watching, you know, Maximus Decimus Meridius cleaving the hordes of Germania in the beginning of Gladiator. It's not like you're watching that kind of thing. It's clearly comic book violence, so it's not as realistic. So maybe it was, they thought they were making an R-rated movie, and just like John said, they got a PG-13 because it's so fantastical.
Anyway, guys, that will do it for today's installment of The Weekly Hero, this week's installment of The Weekly Hero. Thank you guys so much for being here and making this a lot of fun. Robert, where can people find you online?
Oh, always, you can find me on Twitter at BurnettRM, constantly having debates about Star Trek. You can find me on Instagram at RMBurnett. And I promise, next week will be the debut of my bi-weekly show, Robservations, the show about something. You can still support me, PayPal me at RMBurnett. And you get entered into, there'll be drawings every week for my supporters of all kinds of cool stuff.
And thanks again for bringing the alien, because it's awesome.
Predator, dude.
The Predator.
The Predator is an alien. He's an alien.
Alien's in there.
It's true, but
his
the
head's on the
Predator's
bottom. The
technically an
Predator's in
alien.
there.
It's true.
All right, guys, and you guys can follow me on Twitter. Just follow me simply at John Campea. Make sure you follow me there. I talk a lot on Twitter all the time, so make sure you're following me at that. That'll do it for me for now, guys. Thanks a lot for being here. My name's John Campea, and until our next video, bye-bye.